All right, hello. Welcome to the weekly outlook in the DeFi Dojo. Today is October 12th, and we just had the largest crypto liquidation event in history, and it was a doozy. I hope everyone's okay. I hope you all stayed relatively safe and weren't over leveraged. It wiped out pretty much everyone. Some altcoins like Atom hit a penny on certain exchanges. I think I saw, which is just absolutely insane. Not that Atom's really top of the list of things to invest in, but to go from $4 to a penny is quite insane. Um, we had a glimmer of what to expect for a while now, and I've been pointing things out for several weeks, and maybe 4 weeks ago is when I started thinking we were going to get a correction in equities, and I've been pointing out the bearish divergence on total crypto market cap for months and months, and perhaps this move is what the result of that is, and maybe it can go back up from here. Maybe that's what was needed to grab enough liquidity and head the other way. I don't know. We're going to unpack the charts and we're going to see what's possible. There's quite a few things in here that are quite amazing, technically speaking, where it hit the levels perfectly. And so I'm going to show you all that. If you like this kind of content, hit that like and subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. And let's get going. So here's the dollar. And last week, before we had the drop, like before everything started selling off massively, this candle was already up and above the 21 EMA. And so the dollar strength came up first, and then everything fell. And so this was like a precursor, and to me, it was an early warning sign, and I pointed that out in the charts channel as well. I said, DXY is moving up, and the markets haven't quite reacted to that yet, and we might get something happening here. And that's what happened. And this blue line isn't just any trend line. This is what's been going on since 2008, right? So this is an 18-year long uptrend on the dollar, and we've been consolidating right on top of this line for quite a while, as well as this major 382 fib. And then if you throw the pivots on, you got an S3 pivot right there as well. So I had all three of these things telling me like, hey, we're probably going to start turning the corner here eventually. And it's taken months of just sitting sideways down here before we finally got that move. And now we have a bullish move here. And to me, it looks like a reversal candle. It's kind of a little too early to tell yet, but I think this could continue to head higher over the midterm, maybe not immediately. And that can continue to cause havoc in equities markets and crypto markets as well. So it's going to take a little bit for it to, potentially make that move. But until it breaks this trend line, this is starting to look like it's turning a corner. So take that for what it's worth. If we look at the S&P, uh, you know, relatively speaking, it's not bad, right? Like this is just a red candle in an otherwise massive uptrend since the April lows. And I knew this pullback was coming. Now, is that it? It could be. That could be it. We could make the move now to the 1.618 since we're up in this zone. But until it breaks one of these two levels that I've had indicated on the charts for a month and a half now, is really hard to tell. It's holding the 8 EMA on the weekly. We're holding the channel, right, which is this yellow line. It stretches all the way back to the 2021 top in December. So I've kind of just drawn that trend line straight through there, and lo and behold, that's where we're holding support after the big drop last week. I do think we're close still to the end of this bull market, equities and crypto. I can't call when it's going to exactly happen. I just know that risk is very high during the end of these cycles. So I choose to personally be taking profits over the things I've been holding for years, and just taking it easy, trying to scalp shorts if it comes. I did really well on QQQ puts that I've been holding for a while, and I mentioned those in the chat as well. Those are expiring in November, and I cut half of them, took profits on half of them on Friday, held the other half, and we'll see how it goes. I also have Nvidia puts, but I don't recommend that. That's like the most bullish thing in the world right now. So I'm just kind of taking a shot in the dark that maybe that'll come down in the next month or two. And if it doesn't, I'm gonna lose that. So this is a bearish engulfing candle. It spanned the entire fib range from the 1.414 to the 1.272 in 1 week. So now we'll see how it reacts next week. If we fall below 65.89 on the S&P, then that's going to trigger probably a move down to the 21 EMA, which has not touched since it went bullish from the April lows. So this is quite an insane move. It's not something you see all the time. And so when this does start dropping, since it never had a real correction during this entire time, that correction is going to be violent more than likely. It's going to be straight down, and people are probably going to try to nab, calls in the short term to try to get a bounce because it's been so bullish, and that might work out for you, but it's really risky and I wouldn't recommend doing that. I have these puts as a hedge on my overall portfolio, so I never say these things in an effort to say like, hey, this is like a good idea on an individual trade basis. It's really risky in that regard. So um, don't ever do stuff like that just as an isolated trade. It's really risky. If we look at the Nasdaq, it's the same situation. Span the whole fib range here, and just goes to show that these fibs work, right? Like that's a clear resistance. This is clear support, and we got its own channel here, which is this blue line. And so well, I didn't mean to do that. What we're looking for is to see if it's going to break above the 1.414 or below the 1.272, and then we can take action. Until then, it's very difficult to trade this because it's just so wishy-washy within this range. If we look at USDT dominance, lo and behold, that all-time trend line comes into play again. And so for months, it's been bouncing off that line, hitting the EMAs, coming back down. And the move was so substantial yesterday or Friday that not only did we bounce from this line, it went all the way up and almost tapped the downtrend from the bear market last time. And so if you're not familiar with how stablecoin dominance works, I repeat this often in case anybody new is watching. When this chart is trending down, that is a bull market for crypto. And when this chart is trending up, that is a bear market for crypto. And so we have this like inverted head and shoulders kind of pattern happening here. The last week's candle, even though it retraced almost like, 70% of it back down, it's still shot back up through both EMAs, and now we're back over, and these EMAs are getting closer and closer to crossing bullish after finding support again on that line, which has never really broken, right? Since in its history, that USDT dominance line has never broken. And so this is where I go risk off, is when it touches these lines. And when we get up near here, I go risk on a little bit and try to make some money. But until this wedge breaks, which this is what do you call it? Gosh, the word is escaping me. A descending wedge? That's the wrong word. But anyway, it's a bullish pattern, and if once that green line breaks, then that's bad for crypto, right? And so that's what I'll be watching for, specifically this 4.93 mark on USDT dominance. If we get back up over that, then that's not great for crypto. What we want to see is it to actually break this line below. Now, what does that mean for crypto as a whole? It really just means that Bitcoin's probably going to suffer, and that's because it holds the most dominance, right? So let's go look at Bitcoin dominance. Look at how crazy this is. So months ago, I pointed out that we broke the 2.5-year trend line, right? And I was like, okay, this is altcoin's chance, right? We finally have some sort of identification here of Bitcoin dominance breaking down. And now is if altcoin season is going to happen, then this is when it happens, right? But then I found this other really important layer line here, which is this blue line, and I even tweeted this out, that if this line breaks, then we could really see alt season begin. And that line was just barely tapped by Bitcoin dominance, and then we started trending higher. And then we get this big retest of the trend, which technically speaking, that's normal. That's what's supposed to happen. But it nailed that R2 pivot perfectly and retraced the whole move back down. But now it's holding above the 8 EMA, right? So now Bitcoin dominance is starting to try to like regain that bullishness, which is again not great for altcoins. So I don't like this until this starts falling back below the 8 EMA to be, even thinking about risking on altcoins again. If we go look at Ethereum dominance, it tapped to 0.5. The EMAs are still bullish, so it's still not like totally bad. Like this could still recover, and until we fall back below that 0.5 and that 21 EMA, Ethereum dominance could turn this corner and go back up into this golden pocket again. and potentially hit the downtrend, right? Now, whether it breaks that downtrend, I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we get there, but I do still think it could eventually get back up to that line. It would be weird if it didn't, right? Like, because every cycle it wants to try to touch that line, and so being in the midst of this cycle still, that possibility still exists. Fall below the 21 EMA, and I'm going to be less certain about that. Let's go look at total market cap. So here again is that bearish divergence. You can clearly see now the MACD and the RSI are trending down while price is trending up. And every time it touched that line, we are hitting a roadblock, right? Like it just doesn't like it. So now we closed below the weekly 8 EMA. If I zoom in here, and again, we're kind of just maintaining between two major weekly pivots. And so to make things simple, I like using these. And so if you want to just kind of toss these on your chart, it's really easy. If we break down below that line, which you can clearly see has been support since July, then things are bad, right? We want to hold that and we want to break this. So while it's in between, it's very difficult, but in between, we're below the 8 EMA. You can see we're already rejecting it to start this new week. So until we break back up above that, at least, this looks like it might be coming back down to the 21 again to retest the same support. If we look at total 3, this chart is the only like bright spot I can find, which still gives me a little bit of hope for altcoins, right? Now, the sell-off was so dramatic that the entire weekly candle spanned the entire yearly range, which is just insane. I've never seen anything like that. Nobody's ever seen anything like that. I hope you all stayed safe. Anybody who was long on anything with any leverage whatsoever got liquidated. So just goes to show you that this is a very risky space and that you should definitely never do more than you can afford to lose when it comes to leverage trading of any kind. Your best bet's usually spot, and even then you have to go through events like this. Now, there is a theory that perhaps this move got everybody out and now they can send it higher, right? So because before any major move in crypto, there's usually a big shakeout. Well, this is a big shakeout, so perhaps that is what's going to trigger this to go higher. As long as we stay above this green trend line, that possibility exists, and these altcoin targets up here are still possible. So I'm not ruling it out yet. Alt season could still happen. And I'm holding my Ethereum and my Aave and a couple really low market cap cryptos that I kind of like the people there. So I'm holding those. And we'll see what happens. Right now we're below the 8 EMA. So really until we get a move back above that, we're bearish to start the week. And ideally, we need to break back over this 1.13 trillion mark to have any sort of real confidence that we can go for these targets above. Until then, I'm going to kind of just wait and see. And yeah. Let's look at total 3 over Bitcoin. And so this is not going to look great. Why? Because Bitcoin dominance is heading higher, right? So as this chart heads higher, if we compare the altcoin market to Bitcoin, it's probably heading lower, and that's what happened. But notice how well it hit the golden pocket here. We were waiting to see if it would do it back then in June, and it kind of bounced, and so we were getting kind of excited. Never quite broke the downtrend. I was waiting for this pivot and this downtrend to break to get really excited about alt season. Never happened. And now we finally hit the bottom of the golden pocket. So again, perhaps that's what it needed to do to try to go break this trend higher. But until it does, this is still definitely bearish. And that is just the way it is. If we compare Bitcoin to the NASDAQ, we broke that wedge as well. And so now, since that wedge has been broken, for me, my money is better used in TradFi. I would much rather put my money over in the stock market until this shows me that I'm wrong, right? And in order for that to happen, this needs to get back above and into the wedge and invalidate the wedge break. This is a rising wedge, that is a bearish pattern. I still can't think of what it's called when it's going down. Is it a lowering wedge? Anybody help me out there? I can't think of the word. Falling wedge? Maybe it's a falling wedge. Rising, falling. Man, I'm getting old. Anywho, this is bearish at the moment, so that makes the NASDAQ a better choice over Bitcoin at this current time. Let's go look at Bitcoin. Every time it got close to that 1.414 mark, which is where I think the top of the bull market is for Bitcoin, it's been selling off, and it just kind of barely makes a new high and then sells off, barely makes a new high, violently sells off. Still holding the uptrend, so all possibilities to get to the 1.618 at 173 are still possible until that trend breaks. Not calling it impossible yet, but once this trend breaks and we break back down below 1036, which was the important mark back here from December to like January, this is still possible. EMAs are still bullish on the weekly, but the bearish divergence is very real, and I can't ignore that. And so those are the things that are keeping me from over investing in the crypto markets, and has been for several months. Looking at ETH Bitcoin, had a nice pullback here, tapped the S1, and so basically we're just in between these two pivots here until ETH Bitcoin can get over the weekly pivot. It's not technically bullish yet, so it rejected that and has pulled back ever since. I still think it could get up into this golden pocket at some point. We'll see how long that might take, if it happens at all, but that is the downtrend for ETH Bitcoin, just like I was showing you the downtrend for the ETH dominance chart. And there's a lot of lines here, so I'll try to get rid of some, but it would make sense that ETH in this cycle goes and tests the ETH Bitcoin downtrend. Doesn't have to, just makes sense to me, so I think it's still possible until we break down below that S1, which is at 03171. Okay, my favorite stock this week is Adobe, and it's because it's kind of in the gutter, and it's been in the gutter for a while, so I rebought some more. And I've been playing this for years, but I do like it long term. It's only missed one earnings report in its entire history, and it's got this giant bullish pennant, right? And so I think we could eventually bounce off of this low and head up to these highs again. So that's my favorite stock right now. I don't really like anything else. I still have PayPal. I think PayPal could probably finally break out. Hopefully, holding that for years too. It's one of those ones I probably bought too soon, but all those little dotted lines are all the places that I bought it. And it tried to break that trend and rejected, so we'll see how it goes. I think it's starting the week up a little bit at the moment, last I checked in the night session. But let's see what happens. Let's say this is like a big consolidation, accumulation happening down here in the golden pocket, 786. It's what I want to see when I get into something early. And if we just draw this fib set, you'll see we still haven't even gotten to the 382 here. And that's where that dotted line is, and that's why I have that alert there, because when that alert breaks, that tells me this downtrend's over. So hopefully we can finally see that pop up over $100 one day, and when it does, I'll be happy. Other than that, last week's move is going to shake a lot of people. It's probably going to scare a lot of people. A lot of people are probably just going to sit and wait. So maybe we don't get too much action happening. Of course, there's the Trump thing where he could just tweet anything at any moment and things just go absolutely haywire. So you can't rule that out. It's a tough market to be in. Best bet is always just to be long and strong and long term, like on equities. You really can't go wrong over the long term. Trying to short term trade it's difficult, and it's not for the faint of heart. All right, so I think that covers everything. Oh yeah, Tau. People wanted to see Tau, so we're hitting that downtrend, right? And it's just right where that green line is. I've been sharing this chart for a while, and basically when we break one level, you can try to take it to the next. If you break down a level, you try to take it down to the next. I'm personally waiting for this whole thing to finish, but if we do break up over 395, I might try to long this to 489 and then stop there, see what happens. And past that, we can probably see 725 again. Past that, I got this little box up here for take profit targets, if that happens. Kind of hard to tell if this is a distribution or a reaccumulation, because it kind of does both things at the same time. So we'll just wait and see if this wants to break the downtrend here. And if it does, then we can try to take it up to the blue line. All right, with that, if anybody has any chart requests and or questions, please feel free to ask. How low can Bitcoin go in a bear market? Yeah, I have that mapped out already. This is the target I have for the bear market, assuming that is the top, right? So that changes and will move up slightly if we do head up to this level here at the 1.618, which I can't rule out completely yet. So depending on where that tops out, the bear market's going to be somewhere here to like that 618 there. Like I would say somewhere between 30 and 40K is where I'm going to be aiming for in the bear market. Any other questions? Chart requests going once, going twice. All right, you guys are making it easy on me this week. If you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe below. There will be links to the Discord in the description. I'd love to come. I'd love to see you over in the Discord and talk to you. All right, have a good one. Bye.